Welcome back to our channel. This is J M squared.
I'm the J.
I'm an M.
I'm the other M, and we're here today again with our special guest, Noelle. Okay, today we're talking about instructional conversation. And to start, we were asked to come with concerns about instructional conversation and then find ways to fix those, I guess. So I guess I'll start. Some of my concerns with instructional conversation is I was mostly worried about certain people taking over a conversation or other people slipping under the radar and not even contributing to the conversation. And in the article, I found that it talked about how important it is to have a comfortable environment so that the conversation flows naturally, which made me think of my own life. In our cohort at the beginning, I did not want to talk at all, and I slipped through high school without ever talking in class because it just wasn't a comfortable environment. But once we have all gotten to know each other, the environment has become more comfortable. So I don't know, personally I like to share more because it's an environment that I'm willing to be a part of, I guess.
On that, I was just thinking about, because we were talking about with the deliberations in Murray's class, somebody's probing question was what do you do about students who have anxiety about talking? And so I think this is just kind of a better way to do it. If it's the teacher's there for support and it's a smaller group, I think it's going to be easier maybe for kids who do slip under the radar.
Well, and another concern I'd have is what is the rest of your class doing while you're doing this? Because I interpreted this two different ways. You can meet with one group 3 times a week while the rest of your students are working on a different project, or everyone's put in 2 groups and everyone's talking about the same concept. So it's just a little bit tricky of how to manage your time, manage their time, while getting the most out of what they're talking about. And I like the idea of teaching a lesson and then going over key concepts and then splitting everyone into a group, having them talk about the concepts, having them reach a certain understanding, and then debriefing at the end to make sure everyone did it right. So it kind of just links right back to our lesson plans, which makes it easy to follow.
I just get worried that after a teacher has gone over one person's group that they're going to get off topic and they're not going to really, and students in general just tend to go off topic pretty fast. In the article talked about how they're supposed to be talking about one thing and then one person talked about their Canadian sister or something like that.
Right.
They got way off topic. And so I think it's important to, it says this helps promote higher learning, which makes me think of higher order thinking. So, but I feel the teacher needs to give a lot of probing questions and stuff like that to help give the conversation the meat it needs, that they can go off and talk about it and stay on topic for the time being.
Well, the ones who aren't teacher-led, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, and I think if you make the conversations meaningful, you're going to have a lot less students off task, which you can't just be hey, tell your neighbor what this word means, because they tell them what it means and then they're immediately off topic. You have to make your conversations to the point of taking it to the next level rather than just rehearsing what you just said.
Well, I think that's why I'm confused, because I didn't imagine it how you guys did.
Yeah.
I imagined everyone else not having conversations, doing something else, and then you go to them and say hey, now it's our time to have a conversation. But I guess it makes sense that.
But how would the other kids be learning the same topic?
Yeah, maybe they're not. Maybe they're doing a different activity that group that you're talking about is gonna go do after, and then you pull this group and is hey, we're gonna talk about this, and then have that linked independent work.
And then I get worried how do you fit all the subjects in then if that's is it still filming?
Yeah, it's still going.
I
did it the other day,
just because you're supposed to do your reading groups, you're supposed to do math, science, English, so if you're taking 15 to 20 minutes per group, what are you? That's a lot.
Is it? That's what I don't
That's
get.
so time consuming. It sounds so time consuming.
Well, I wasn't imagining it 15 to 20 minutes per group though. Still.
Okay.
So you're giving total 15 to 20 minutes.
But it could be, because it could be your center time and then your reading groups. I don't know if that's.
But this also works for every subject. So if you wanted to pull one group for math and then you pull another group for science and then you pull another group for.
Everyone still get to.
So you're doing this all day with every subject.
Okay,
I think it would work.
Yeah,
so you are seeing every group at least once a day and then seeing them several times. Okay.
Sorry. Just going back to Jasmine talking about what were you talking about? Oh, going deeper. That's what it was. Going deeper. So like the students have an opinion on a lot of things. So I think you need to get something that like a deeper subject so that they have something to say. And I also wrote down from the article, like asking about their specific views, and that helps to get their conceptions and misconceptions out, which also in science we talk a lot about getting students to like talk so that they can, so that as teachers we can understand what they know and what like they think they know that is not right. So I think that's also been instructional conversations a good way to find out what they know and if they have any information that needs to be corrected.
Yeah, building off like what you said about like the views, the students' views, it also like goes with like Maria's class. We talked about deliberation, how you mentioned about just like it allows students to see things from other students' point of views at a younger age, kind of like what we talked about.
And I think this is super important for like the ELLs that you mentioned earlier, like creating that environment and then creating a habit out of it, so they know that they're going to be responsible to talk about subjects. They know that it's okay to be wrong, and they also know that that's helping them.
Yes, and since this is like an ELL course, it also goes into how like it helps ELLs from lagging behind, and their with like from their English speaking peers, like going farther behind, and it like provides the quieter or more like intimidated or reluctant student like ELLs, the students, they need to be active participants in the classroom.
Yeah, like Melanie was saying, like she always just like never talked, and it's like in a little small group you can't really not talk with the teacher sitting right there with all of you. So
and also like gives the ELLs though the important like to use their academic language, because I remember in Brand's class this Thursday we did that like 6 kind of like different layers of the ELLs, and most of them talked about how they don't get enough like academic language. And I mean, normally ELLs get a lot of conversational, but really in the classroom they really need to be using their academic language.
Like they can develop the conversational like easily, but the academic is like what's harder, and this can help with that. Another thing I liked was the accountability. Like at the end when you're debriefing, like they can also think about like how to make it better and like improve it. I don't know. I think it has a lot of accountability in it, just like we were saying.
So
sorry. Are you sure? Okay. And with the accountability, I like how it talked about like always have an activity after, so that they know that like the instructional conversation, it's not just to have a conversation, it's actually for something after, like whether it's a paper or I don't know, just some kind of activity, so that it's not for nothing.
Yes, and actually that goes into what I was going to talk about.
Perfect.
The first steps of having an instructional conversation in your classroom. So the first step is just to get students conversing with individuals. And then you can move on to the pairs and then the small groups, because you want them to get comfortable just talking in general. If they're not if you just try to go automatic to small groups and they've never done that before, they're going to be like, I don't know, like they're afraid of maybe being judged or something by their peers, or just you need to start like small and work your way up. And then the next part is like the teacher could videotape themselves to see if they're really getting across their points they want, but videotaping is not ideal for a lot of people, I feel like, but
I was gonna say, like, make sure you keep the goal in mind, that they know what the goal is too.
Yeah. And then also like giving the students like Venn diagrams, graphs, and just other like notes and key things that they can refer to, so that they can refer back on topic instead of like being like, oh, what were we talking about again?
Something tangible.
And then the last thing, like Mel was saying, like creating a project after their instructional conversation. Could be a model, could be a paper, could be making a brochure, could be anything that just kind of like shows what they learned from having those instructional conversations.
And then I see like myself, if I use this, which I'm guessing you're hoping we do, like setting up a procedure for it, like they know it's time to have these instructional conversations, so everyone else is working on their assignment, I'm pulling this group over, they're doing an instructional conversation with me, everyone else is responsible for getting these certain tasks done, this is what happens in a instructional conversation, like, and have everyone know the certain steps that go along with it. That way it's not like they're just confused on what they're supposed to be talking about, what they're supposed to be doing. I just think it's totally teacher guided, but it's student centered.
Yeah.
That was good.
Dude,
I like that. Well,
any final thoughts?
I think we're good.
Right.
Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to our channel, like and comment
Oh,
down below.
No, it's still going.
The
It's
password.
Still going. It's just click on it, and it's NES 11.
You're definitely gonna edit this last part out.
Do we though? I
Like
feel
and
it's
comment.
good.
It's
I
fine.
think it's good to have this.
See you next week.
The
It's
sliding is
fun.
great.
Oh,
Dude, wait.
Stop
No,
it.
it's going still.
Oh.